Massachusetts Beer Review number 5. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you all out there in YouTube land. This is cousin Matthew. Say hello, Matthew.
Hello.
We are going to be reviewing today for your viewing pleasure and taste bud extraordinary pleasure the Mad Elf Ale. Mad Elf Ale is from the Trooegs Brewery out of Hershey, Pennsylvania. They are, this Mad Elf Ale, I should say, is considered in style on Beer Advocate a Belgian strong dark ale at about 11.0 ABV, alcohol by volume. Their website specifies their hop bitterness by IBU, is about 15. It's going to be available between October and December, so when you get it in this season, get it now. Mad Elf is a cheerful creation to warm your heart and enlighten your tongue. The combination of cherries, honey, and chocolate malts delivers gentle fruits and subtle spices. Fermented and aged with a unique yeast, this ruby red beer has significant warming strength that underlies the pleasant character of this intriguing yet delicious ale. The Mad Elf, is a jolly and delicious beer for the holidays. And it says, we're going to let this warm as well to get to the correct temperature, that it's best at 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And the glassware which we have chosen properly is a tulip. Hold up your tulip. Or, this one's not really a tulip, but it'll work. Or a chalice, which is a lot flatter and wider rimmed glass. And we will try it now as it is cold from the fridge, and we will wait till it warms later from the fridge. If you want to pop that open, be my guest. First year I have ever had this. Haven't had it yet. We're going to see what we think about the beer. And we'll try it. Give you the smell, taste,
a nice head
aroma, and mouthfeel and final grades on that beer. And there's a little bit more on the label that we have yet to read to you yet. Because it's still a little different than just the Trooegs website read to you. When Matt's done with that, I will read a little bit extra to you. Let me see that, please, Matt. Thank you. This is the Mad Elf Ale. It is brewed with honey and cherries. Happy holidays. Alright, this is supposed to be a Belgian-style ale. Let's, what do we get from the appearance of the beer?
Well, I have a nice head forming. So, you get a nice sort of ruby color in there as well.
Definitely a dark ruby red ale.
Pretty clear.
Definitely filtered. Yeah, not unfiltered. It's got a good one finger head, tight white bubbles, very cream colored white head. Not too creamy, not too foamy. Somewhere in the middle of that. Looks pretty good. Let's get a smell on that. Cheers in a minute. I get a lot of that honey. A lot of that honey is first and foremost what I smell.
Well, I also get a lot of cherry, too.
A lot of honey and a lot of cherry, absolutely.
Granted, that's what the logo says, but...
Yeah, brewed with honey and cherries.
They do not lie.
There's like a slightly spicy element to it. I don't know if that's the hops or if that's the yeast or what. Definitely has this slightly caramel, slightly... I don't want to say like a pine needle kind of a spice, but sort of.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm getting a very powerful cherry.
Cherry and honey.
It's just almost
cherry and honey, like a toasted toffee, like a toffee, right? Cherry, honey, and toffee is what I get, right?
Yeah, I'd also like to note that the head has died down.
Yes.
Quite a bit from the beginning.
And my beer has spilled slightly off the glass, but not to the floor. Let's take a taste of the Mad Elf Ale from Trooegs. Cheers. That is sweet. Not meaning that it's bad, but I wasn't expecting so much sweetness. There's this little bit of this, I don't want to really say maple syrup, but there's kind of that essence to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I think the cherries are very, very powerful. I mean, I don't taste much of the honey, but a lot of the cherries.
A lot of cherry. We'll get to the mouthfeel in a minute, but even saying we'll get to the mouthfeel in a minute, the mouthfeel still plays into the overall flavor of the beer, and it's a very prickly, carbonated mouthfeel. Although you can't see it because of how dark the beer actually looks in the camera, it is a very prickly, carbonated kind of a beer. It has a lot of crispness, and you know the carbonation is very prevalent in the tongue. What's your overall assessment of the flavor so far? Because this seems to me to be a really complex kind of a beer. That they have the cherries and the honey, and there's a little bit of like a toffee sweetness to the malt character, but I don't know really what else to say about that as it's cool out of the fridge at the moment.
See, I almost feel that right up front you get maybe a smidge of the honey.
Yeah.
Directly as it hits your tongue. But then as, you know, after you swallow and the taste starts to dwindle, you get more cherries.
Yeah.
At that point.
It's not, I mean, in saying that it's got this big cherry feel, I mean, it does have a little bit of that. It's not a huge cough syrupy medicinal flavor, but in the same regard, I think it has a little bit of that sort of a bitter cherry medicinal, not towards Robitussin, but getting in that direction, Robitussin ale. Would I drink this beer initially as it is now and think that it's holiday, Christmas in origin, in thought process of brewing it? Absolutely not would I think that. But is it a bad beer at the moment? No, I just think it's a little sweet. It's got a big carbonation, and it's got the honey is there, but these cherries play a huge part in the flavor. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it is very, very sweet, and I feel I'm not a huge cherry fan.
I'm with you.
So I think in some essence the cherries might be a little too powerful.
Too dominant.
Too dominant. Yeah, they're almost. I mean, I hate to say it, and I don't know if it'll change later as it warms up. But I almost feel the cherries are overpowering.
You know what I noticed before we go and take a break to let this warm a little bit is that at the moment there's not a huge boozy presence at whatever I just read it was. I'll post it on the video itself if I'm wrong, but at 11% ABV you taste a little bit of a warming sensation when you swallow the beer, but in general I don't taste that. Let me know before we go to a break here.
Yeah, no, I don't.
It just has that cherry Robitussin, a carbonated feel to the beer. The smell. Cherry Robitussin is right. And we're going to take a slight break for a few minutes. We're going to come back to the beer.
Yes.
Let you know how it changes for the better. And we'll come back with our final thoughts and grades on the Trooegs Mad Elf Ale from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Stay tuned. Alright, we are back with Massachusetts Beer Reviews number 5, part 2 of the Trooegs Mad Elf Ale from Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's been maybe 15 to 20 so minutes letting this thing warm up and see if it changes. The smell does not change a bit. It's still sweet with that cherry flavor, cherry scent, slight honey, almost no hops. It kind of has earthy, yeasty smell. That's about it. and the flavor at this point now. Let's take another drink. Cheers again. Is really about the same. It still has that highly cherry flavored sweetness. Slightly, I want to say sour here. There's a slight sourness at the end. The finish is very long. Very long. It's a big sweet cherry flavor. There's a little bit of that honey at the end, but this finish is long and sweet.
Yeah, I think it's that sourness you're talking about. I think it's just so much of the cherry hitting your palate.
Very carbonated.
I think it's just so much of the cherry that's hitting your palate that it's just too overwhelming. I think that's where the sourness comes from.
Do you have an opinion on how it feels in the mouth? What would you say the body feels like in the mouth here? That is another important element that these beer geeks want to know in the flavor. It's definitely a medium towards full body. I wouldn't say it's full body. It's definitely medium, but I detect an undesirable carbonation in this beer. This beer is very heavy in its mouthfeel towards a full body, and it's very carbonated to my taste buds. It's too carbonated, and it's overly crisp. Just like I had said within that Newcastle Werewolf, this beer is way too carbonated, and it's way too undrinkable just because of its carbonation. But that being said, it's not really too undrinkable. It's just that the carbonation plus its overall cherry flavored sweetness doesn't make this a beer, to me, that's hugely quaffable or hugely pleasant within its mouth, feel, and body.
Yeah, I mean, I would first. I'd like to make the point that my glass is a standard tulip glass, and I have a continuous lacing on my beer.
Yeah, he's got the Shipyard Pugsley Signature Series ale glass, which is more of a tulip glass. And my style of a glass is what they would like to call a stout glass. Don't know what that particularly means in this style.
So if you don't believe glasses make a difference,
do a swirl test. He doesn't have to do a swirl test. He doesn't have to. But I do. You barely see it happening for a head, but I'm just going to get right down to bare bones and give this beer, ooh, excuse me, heavily carbonated. 2.75 out of 5. Mad Elf Ale, despite it being 2.75, is not gross. Excuse me, wow. It's not gross, but it is not what I would consider a pleasant beer from Trooegs. You're better off drinking the Trooegs Nugget Nectar. That's a 5 out of 5 all day long, but whew, what would you give the beer, son? Sorry.
I'm a bit more harsh because I'm not a fan of cherries. I'd give this beer a 1.5 out of 5. I mean, would I drink this again? Probably not. Would I buy it? Probably not. I mean, if it's around, I could probably deal with it, but I don't think it's worth it for me. But I'm not a cherry person. It's some people out there who love the taste of cherries could love this beer and rate it a 4 out of 5. But I'm not a cherry person.
Ooh, I would definitely say that this is average. Ever so slightly